She doesn't see herself anymore. She only sees the reflection of how others see her. At first, the mirror was harmless, a place to adjust her smile, her posture, her mask. But the longer she stared, the more she forgot what she looked like without it. The mirror stopped showing her truth. It started showing her value. Beauty was never her sin. It was her language, the one thing the world rewarded without her needing to speak. Every glance became approval, every compliment, a transaction. And somewhere between the praise and the performance, the girl who simply wanted to be seen became the woman who could no longer stop looking. She learned early that being admired meant being safe, that approval could protect her from invisibility. So she built her identity out of attention and fed it every day like a fragile flame. Because when she stopped feeding it, the silence felt like death. The cruel paradox is that the more she perfected her image, the further she drifted from herself. The mirror became her audience, her judge, her God. It reflected not who she was, but who she must remain to deserve love. And once love depends on maintenance, it's no longer love, it's labor. Behind every flawless photo lies a whisper. Will they still want me tomorrow? Behind every confident posture, the fear that the next woman will outshine her. So she smiles harder, posts brighter, feigns ease while trembling underneath the weight of her own persona. She doesn't crave admiration because she's vain. She craves it because it's the only way she can feel that she exists. The likes, the glances, the comments, they don't inflate her ego. They silence her anxiety. But only for a moment, because dopamine doesn't heal, it distracts. And the reflection that once comforted her now mocks her. It reminds her of who she's pretending to be, a woman adored by all, yet unknown to herself. This is the prison of validation, invisible, elegant, and padded with compliments. No walls, no bars, just mirrors. And every reflection whispering the same lie. You're only real when they see you. She didn't become addicted to validation in her 20s. She was trained for it as a child. Every time she smiled, someone said, "Good girl." Every time she cried, someone said, "Don't be dramatic." Her nervous system learned a dangerous lesson. Love isn't given for being, it's given for pleasing. She learned that approval was safety, and safety became the only form of love she could trust. She built her emotional world around the feedback of others. When affection came inconsistently, she developed hyper-attunement. She could read the temperature of a room, sense when people were withdrawing. It looked like empathy, but underneath, it was survival. Her nervous system became a performer long before she knew what performance meant. If she sensed anger, she became sweet. If she sensed boredom, she became entertaining. If she sensed disinterest, she panicked. Because to a child, attention isn't admiration, it's existence. That's how the addiction begins, not with vanity, but with inconsistency. A child who never knew when love would arrive learns to manufacture it. And when that child grows up, she no longer knows the difference between being loved and being liked. So when the world finally praises her beauty, it doesn't heal her. Each compliment hits the same neural pathway as a parent's rare smile. Each like replaces the hug she never got. She doesn't know that the people admiring her aren't seeing her. They're feeding the ghost she's been chasing her whole life. Deep inside, she keeps waiting for one person, someone who won't need her to perform. Who will stay, even when she's not impressive. Who will see the child behind the charm, but until that day comes, she performs, because she doesn't know how to stop. Silence feels like abandonment, stillness feels like danger, and peace, the very thing she craves, feels unnatural. This is the hidden tragedy of validation addiction. It doesn't start with pride. It starts with a little girl who just wanted to be enough. She enters a world that feeds the wound perfectly, a world built to monetize insecurity, and disguise it as empowerment. Every scroll becomes a silent transaction, her attention traded for belonging. The algorithm doesn't care about her peace, only her engagement. The more she performs, the more it rewards her. The world tells her to be authentic, but only if authenticity is aesthetically pleasing. To be real, she must still be marketable. To be vulnerable, she must still be desirable. Even her honesty becomes a product. It's not vanity, it's adaptation. She's surviving in a digital ecosystem that confuses validation with value. Every photo is a currency, every glance a micro-approval. Each moment of attention another dopamine drip. She no longer feels the difference between joy and metrics. Emotion becomes analytics, likes, shares, engagement, reach. Love becomes quantified, and emptiness becomes data. When she opens her phone, the world praises her. When she puts it down, the silence feels like withdrawal. The same chemical that once bound her to parental affection now binds her to her audience. It's the same pattern, only more refined. The modern world pays her to continue performing. The applause has gone digital. She's become both the brand and the product. Social media is not a mirror, it's a marketplace of self. The algorithm is not admiration, it's addiction disguised as approval. She's trapped inside a feedback loop where the crowd sees her presentation, not her pain. They call it confidence, but it's curation. They call it influence, but it's exposure. The danger isn't in being seen, it's in being unable to disappear. Because the moment she stops posting, she starts fading. Not from the internet, but from herself. She's surrounded by millions, and yet she's never been more alone. At some point, the applause stops working. Not because it disappears, but because it no longer reaches her. She's achieved everything the world said would make her whole, and yet the emptiness only deepens. The more praise she receives, the less she feels it. Because repetition numbs emotion, adoration without intimacy is just noise. She scrolls through comments that sound like love, but her chest feels hollow. Validation can mimic connection, but it can't replace it. That's when the reflection begins to crack, not on the glass, but inside her psyche. Every filter, every pose, every projection now carries a quiet fatigue. She's tired of being watched, yet terrified of being forgotten. She's trapped between two prisons, visibility and invisibility. When she tries to open up, people call it relatable. When she withdraws, they call it mysterious. She's not a woman anymore, she's a symbol. And symbols don't get to rest. The tragedy is she doesn't know how to be without the mask. Her self-worth was outsourced too early, to applause, perception, metrics, men. Now every moment of silence feels like punishment. So she creates content out of her pain. She performs vulnerability to survive it. Though her voice trembles with sincerity, a part of her knows she's still performing. True healing requires invisibility, and invisibility terrifies her. The mirror begins to show things she avoided for years: fatigue, grief, self-erasure. She used to look in that glass and ask, "Am I enough?" Now she looks and asks, "Who even is this?" That's the moment most people mistake for collapse. But it's actually the beginning of awakening. For the first time, she isn't trying to be seen, she's trying to feel. Awareness returns and illusion starts to die. When the mirror breaks, silence follows. Not the kind of silence that punishes, the kind that reveals. For the first time, there's no performance to sustain. No mask to adjust. Just breath and the unfamiliar sound of stillness. At first, it feels unbearable. Her mind races for validation, for the next hit of "you're enough." But there's no one left to applaud her. In that absence, something extraordinary begins to happen. The anxiety doesn't vanish, it transforms. What once felt like emptiness starts to feel like space. What once felt like rejection starts to feel like peace. The silence she feared was never loneliness. It was detox. The withdrawal of chaos. The stilling of the noise. For the first time, she doesn't need to be beautiful to exist. She doesn't need to be seen to be real. She simply is. The opposite of validation isn't invisibility, it's freedom. When the need to be seen dies, the ability to see returns. She notices small things again, the sound of wind, the weight of silence. She no longer asks, "Do they love me?" She asks, "Do I love the woman I am when no one's watching?" There's no applause for this stage. No algorithm rewards it. But this is where wholeness begins. To the outside world, it looks like she vanished. But within, she's finally visible to herself. This is the paradox of awakening. When you stop performing for love, you start becoming love itself. And the emptiness you feared was simply the space where your soul could breathe again.